Hi, and welcome to our mini-I presentation on proactive root cause analysis. What about the chronic failures? My name is Bob Latino, and I will be your host for the next few minutes, and I appreciate your time. Let's get started. When is an RCA typically commissioned? Now, let's think about it. For those of us listening that do this in the field, when does our management usually require a root cause analysis to be done? Here's what we typically see. When someone is hurt, from a safety standpoint, that rises to the magnitude of an event in which will require a root cause analysis. When there is an environmental impact, say we have a leak to the atmosphere and we can expect the OSHA or the EPA to be on us. When there is a high dollar loss or catastrophic damage. When regulations require it to be done, we can expect that it will be done. Now, when you think about any of these and the conditions under which they would occur, this is very short-term in the thinking because we're looking at individual events occurring, which gives us a very short-term perspective. Now, when looking back at these, are these typically going to be chronic type of things, or are they going to be sporadic types of things? Which has a larger impact on the organization? The chronic failures, the ones that happen so often that they get conditioned to be a part of doing business, a cost of doing business, or the sporadic or the acute types of failures. As we can see from our listing in the last slide, we can tell that usually RCAs are going to be commissioned under the conditions of a sporadic or an acute type of failure, as opposed to the chronic things that happen all the time. Let's explore that in more detail. If we move away from the short-term perspective of looking from day to day, such as bad actors lists that are typically generated on a daily or a weekly basis, and let's step back a year. In the lower right-hand corner of this screenshot that you see, you'll see a process flow diagram for a particular process. This is just mapping out the flow of material from a beginning point to an ending point in a process. The definition of loss for this particular process is any event or condition that interrupts the continuity of maximum quality production. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over a year's time and look at any event that meets the definition of loss in this particular process. We are going to identify the events that have occurred, in which subsystem they occurred, and at the mode level that they occurred. We're going to look at how often they happened in the past year, and for each event we're going to dig up the data associated with the cost of these events. No need to dot I's and cross T's. We're going to get in the ballpark, and we're going to err on the side of conservatism. We're going to go with the low numbers. But in this particular case, we're going to look at the impacts associated with lost profit opportunities or downtime, labor, and materials. So our calculation here would simply be frequency times the sum of these three impacts, and this will give us a total annual loss. Now what this does is it bubbles the chronic type of failures that happen all the time and then measures them by their impact when they do occur. So that now the frequency times the impact calculation will give them more significance over a longer period of time than the sporadic types of events. Think about what happens with a sporadic type of event. I might have one event in 10 years and it cost me $100,000. Now on its individual impact, that's a pretty marked event that's occurring and it will get everyone's attention. However, in the big picture, it only happens once every 10 years, so its annualized impact, which is amortized over the 10-year period, will be about $10,000. When you contrast this to the chronic types of events, the ones that happen every shift, every day, every week, they're not even recognized as failures anymore because they don't, on its individual impact, they don't rise to the level of the others. These chronic types of events do not get the type of attention that the sporadics do. Many people do not realize that these chronic types of events, though, are in essence going to be precursors to these sentinel types of events, or these more catastrophic type of events. And this is where Pareto comes into play. That if I took a Pareto cut, which were the highlighted line items in the screenshot before, we would see that typically 20% or less of the types of events equate to 80% or more of the overall losses. And this is when we step back, look at the big picture over a longer period of time. Now this is very helpful when we want to be able to identify where we want to allocate our very scarce and limited resources. For instance, we can't do the true breadth and depth of root cause analysis on everything that crops up. So we have to have some type of trigger or some type of threshold which would say when we've met this criteria, we will commission a root cause analysis. Based on the Pareto cut of the chart before, we can identify the specific events with the highest impacts to the organization over a year's time, and now we can commission a team to go ahead and look at these particular events because we know what the payback is now over a year's time. Now this doesn't make the other items that we've identified as unimportant, they're just not as important. They may not require the rigidity of root cause analysis, and we may use less intensive methods which may lend ourselves to more of the continuous improvement type tools. Nonetheless, what we're looking for is a prioritization of the failures that are occurring based on their impact to the organization so that we can allocate the proper level of resources to eliminating the risk of their recurrence. In conclusion, the cost of chronic events far outweigh the cost of the sporadic or more acute events when looked at over an annualized period. Again, we want to stress in this conclusion that the chronic events is proactive in the sense that if we get them at their earlier stage, before they have the significant consequences associated with a sporadic event, then we are in essence being proactive with our RCA efforts because we are picking them up earlier. This concludes our short eye presentation. I do appreciate your time. I know you're very busy people. I applaud you for your efforts in the reliability area, especially with regards to root cause analysis, as we can share your trials and tribulations. Here is our contact information. I would like to invite you to visit our new website, which is at www.reliability.com. Good luck with your efforts. Take care.